From incredibly bizarre pieces of Royal Rumble information, to blokes with more women's title defenses than multiple-time female champs, you are about to be gifted with 10 fantastic additions to your ever-growing collection of useless wrestling knowledge. Oh yeah, and a quick salute to the awesome legends at R² Circle for helping to inspire this list via this brilliant post too. With all that said, I am Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 useless pieces of wrestling trivia you still need to know. Number 10, The Undertaker beat every member of Evolution at WrestleMania. A quick look at the names The Undertaker conquered on his way to racking up a frankly ridiculous 21-0 streak on the grandest stage, before Brock Lesnar took that record to Suplex City, of course, reveals a star-studded who's who of WWE greats. The top performers of multiple generations all tried and failed to make the dead man rest in peace at WrestleMania. This also included one of the most stacked factions in WWE history too, with Taker ultimately besting not just the leader of the eventual squad known as Evolution, but all 4 members of the dominant faction over the years. Triple H was defeated on 3 separate occasions, failing to defeat this game at Mania X7, 27, and 28. Ric Flair was unable to keep the Phenom down at the 18th showcase of the Immortals. Randy Orton couldn't immortalize himself as the killer of this legend at WrestleMania 21. Batista was then the final name from that unit added to Taker's impressive list, after losing his World Heavyweight Championship to the Demon of Death Valley 2 years later. Evolution? Completed it, mate. Number 9, Seth Rollins has defended the Raw Women's Championship more than Sasha Banks. She may be one of the famous 4 horsewomen, picked up numerous championships, produced a ton of iconic displays in between the ropes, and continued to impress outside of the world of WWE. But Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Money, still hasn't actually done one rather specific thing in her career. Despite holding the Raw Women's Championship a grand total of 5 times during her run in the world of sports entertainment, Banks never once defended that title successfully on television. In fact, it took her a surprising amount of time to defend any women's singles strap on the main roster, after making her official debut in July 2015. Jumping back to the Red Brand's women's belt though, and you'll likely be just as shocked to learn that current World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins actually boasts more defenses of that title than the multiple-time champ. The Visionary helped his wife Becky Lynch keep hold of the championship in a last-chance winners-take-all Extreme Rules match at the titular 2019 PLE. You are forgiven for erasing that whole bizarre program from your memory, I know I have, but after helping the man retain against Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin, Rollins remarkably pulled ahead of the boss in the Raw Women's Championship Defenses League. Now I want to know, what is your favourite horsewoman match of all time? Was it one involving Sasha Banks, or was it something else? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 8, Mr. Kennedy wrestled both Eddie Guerrero and Umaga's last match. Though his WWE run may have not worked out as well as both himself and many of his supporters would have liked, charismatic loudmouth Mr. Kennedy has still managed to etch his name into wrestling history. On top of picking up a Money in the Bank ladder match victory, one that he unfortunately was never able to cash in, but more on that later, the former United States champion also ended up wrestling in not 1, but 2 Wrestling Legends final ever matches. Back in 2005, Kennedy locked up with the iconic Eddie Guerrero on the November 11th edition of SmackDown, losing via DQ thanks to some trademark Latino heat cheating in what would go on to become the Star's last match. He'd tragically pass away on November 13th. Fast forward a few years and Kennedy, under the name Mr. Anderson, once again found himself clashing with another much-loved figure in Umaga, wrestling as Uso Fatu in 2009, with their November 28th Hulkamania Let the Battle Begin tour contest also being his last. The one-time WWE star sadly died on December 4th. Both men were unquestionably taken way too soon. Number 7, every Shield member pinned one of their old friends to win their first world title. As already noted on this list, there's certainly been some rather decorated and dominant factions in the land of sports entertainment, but has there ever been a unit quite as unstoppable and formidable as the Shield? During their run under the WWE banner, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Reigns and Dean Ambrose were each able to pick up numerous world titles, main event multiple PLEs, and regularly steal the show as a unit or as singles forces. But did you know that each of the Stars' first ever World Championship victories actually came at the expense of one of their brothers? The Visionary was the first of the squad to lift the big one, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase and pinning Reigns to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 31. The big dog then finally got his hands on that strap at Survivor Series 2015, spearing a hole through Ambrose to win the title before Sheamus ruined his party with another cash-in. Finally, the man also known as AEW's Jon Moxley turned Money in the Bank 2016 into the famous evening where every member of The Shield held the WWE Championship at one point, cashing in his Money in the Bank contract on a newly crowned Rollins as he stood over both former teammates as world champ for the very first time. You'll love to see it. Number 6, The New Day have nicknames for each different pairing. Another team of talented wrestlers who have unquestionably made their mark on the business over the last decade. The New Day have held all kinds of gold, blazed trails, and been a constant source of hilarious and sometimes quite emotional entertainment since their 2014 debut. For a while there, they even held the record for longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions in company history too, with the trio defending those straps under the Freebird rule, meaning all three are given the title of champions, but are allowed to swap and change who wrestles in their defenses. It turns out the squad even have specific nicknames for each of said different New Day tag team lineups. As noted by Xavier Woods when discussing how the faction decide who will wrestle in an upcoming match on their Feel the Power podcast, it's usually a case of whoever didn't wrestle last time getting swapped in for the next match. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods go by the name of Speed Force, Big E and Woods are Muscle Bomb, and Kingston and E are Pops and Powers. Why? Because Xavier is the team's hybrid, Kofi possesses the speed, and Big E is the obvious muscle, of course. Now you know. Oh yeah, and cheers for checking out this video today, my friend. If you're enjoying yourself, then hit that subscribe button down below. Number 5, Scott Hall didn't appear in the Royal Rumble, but Razor Ramon did. You are likely already aware of the fact that the late great Scott Hall shockingly never once made an appearance in WWE's legendary Royal Rumble contest. But does that mean that Razor Ramon never found himself getting thrown over the top rope in the match? Well, no actually. Oddly enough, back when WWE thought it would be a wonderful idea to simply recast the role of the bad guy in the wake of Hall's departure to WCW in 1996, Rick Bogner's jarring version of Ramon did actually pop up in the following year's 30-person Battle Royale. After entering the contest at number 3, this inferior Razor didn't survive all that long in the match, eventually won by a certain mean SOB, getting launched out of the match by Ahmed Johnson 17 seconds into his Rumble run. Hall did technically boast a number of appearances at the PLE, however history will always show that while the legend didn't ever appear in the titular bout, Razor Ramon bizarrely still did. Number 4, if the Money in the Bank briefcase was won at Mania, Edge was inevitably involved. Is there a wrestler out there more synonymous with the briefcase often found dangling up high above a WWE ring than the Rated R ladder specialist? Edge wasn't just responsible for some of the more memorable or shocking cash-ins in Money in the Bank history though. He was actually surprisingly involved in pretty much every cash-in during that first wave of chaos. It was simple. If the contract was won at WrestleMania, Edge would inevitably find himself in and around the eventual title match. He obviously cashed in the first ever contract at New Year's Revolution 2006. He then beat Mr. Kennedy for the contract post WrestleMania 23 and cash it in on The Undertaker in 2007. In the subsequent years where he didn't end up holding the case, Edge also speared John Cena through a table at One Night Stand 2006 to help Mr. Money in the Bank Rob Van Dam lift the big one, was cashed in on by CM Punk in 2008, lost his big gold belt to Jeff Hardy before Punk once again ran out with the contract in 2009, and attacked Chris Jericho right before Jack Swagger strutted out with his Money in the Bank prize in 2010. That first Money in the Bank era had Adam Copeland's fingerprints all over it. Number 3, Sheamus was once Bono's security guard. It's a beautiful day to discover that one of WWE's longest-serving ass-kickers actually had a rather fascinating job whilst trying to fulfill his dream of taking bumps for a living. Along with being an in-house IT technician there for a spell early on, Sheamus actually took on the role of security guard in a Dublin club that often had a rather well-known guest. Talking to Independent.ie about that time in his life, the eventual WWE champion recalled how Bono would be in the place all the time, with it being Sheamus's job to ensure nobody got close enough to spike the rock star's drink or nick his pint. If you saw this fiery Irish powerhouse standing tall with those guns crossed, you would unquestionably think twice about running away with Bono's Guinness, that's for sure. Sheamus ended up heading over to London after his stint as security guard to the Star, stars, moving ever closer towards his dream of one day running the WWE ropes. Number 2, Jack Perry is related to Krusty the Clown. Long before Jack Perry was labeling himself as AEW's scapegoat, or even dressing up as a Tarzan boy, his late father Luke Perry actually sort of brought the Jungle Boy gimmick to one of the biggest TV shows on planet Earth. Appearing in The Simpsons as Krusty the Clown's half-brother, the Beverly Hills 90210 star ultimately popped up in the 4th season's 22nd episode as Sideshow Luke Perry, sporting the sort of prehistoric outfit that wouldn't look out of place within the Jurassic Express squad. So in the Simpsons universe at least, that technically makes Jack Perry the iconic cynical clown's nephew. If the former Jungle Boy ever feels the need to change up his gimmick once again in the coming years then, an all-elite version of this grumpy, burned-out animated character wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Think Doink the Clown, but with more flips and Canadian destroyers. Number 1, Triple H tore his quad exactly 5 years on from his last quad injury return. Papa H, like the rest of the McMahon family he married into, has had some horrific luck with his quads over the years. After shredding his left one during a Monday Night Raw tag match alongside Stone Cold Steve Austin against Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit on May 21st, 2001, the game returned as an absolute hero in Madison Square Garden 8 months later. That noise is still something else. But while the date of January 7th must have felt like the undisputed greatest day of all time for Triple H back in 2002, he almost certainly did not feel that same way 5 years down the road. In a truly bizarre turn of events, not only did the cerebral assassin go on to shockingly tear his other quad at New Year's Revolution 2007, that chaotic DX match against Rated RKO also just happened to go down on the exact same date as his last quad comeback. Useless trivia? No doubt, but still rather spooky stuff. Did you enjoy this 10 useless pieces of wrestling trivia you still need to know video? Well, check out this 10 unnecessary WWE details you need to know list too. It's another goodie. Bye bye!